what we have starting this process is to enter a waiver program. So we've gotten through this part of the flow chart over here, which was trying to do everything on site. We've come into a waiver program. The first question we get to ask ourselves now is, does the project qualify for water quality credits? And these are defined in the Model WQMP Section 3. And things like transit-oriented development, things like infill redevelopment, I believe, qualifies for a small credit. But there's a variety of credits that are available to projects. And so if you enter this with, for example, 2,000 cubic feet of design capture volume that couldn't be done on site, that's what we're going to call your alternative compliance volume. And so if we're allowed to apply some credits, we can reduce that volume. That's one way we can start to move towards compliance on an alternative compliance basis. If there's still remaining design capture volume left after that, then now we're getting into another set of decisions. The two general pathways that someone has are both predicated on providing at least treatment upstream of the receiving water and providing at least the level of pollutant load reduction that would be achieved by on-site treatment controls upstream of the receiving water. So one way we can do this is just take the same type of controls that we would have done on site and do them at a regional scale, still before it gets to either a water of the US or a water of the state. And so that's one option. And that if it's sized for the entire remaining alternative compliance volume, that's a pathway. Now typically the burden of going off-site involves all sorts of additional permitting and all sorts of factors. So someone's not just going to develop this for their project. They're likely going to develop it with some surplus capacity. And so this could be a sort of an ad hoc mitigation bank that gets developed for other projects that could discharge to that BMP in a given drainage area. And now the permit does, and the Model WQMP does give you the ability to approve this type of a project as part of a compliance approach under a waiver program. The other option is to implement treatment control BMPs on site and then contribute to a runoff mitigation fund for the to achieve the required level of compliance. So this is you're essentially contributing to a mitigation fund or a mitigation project in order to achieve the pollutant load reduction that you would have achieved by doing everything with retention on site. So if you've done treatment control BMPs, you've essentially removed maybe a portion of your pollutants in your design capture volume. This would be needed to address the remaining amount of pollutants in your design capture volume that weren't already addressed by treatment control BMPs or on-site BMPs. And so I think we need to be really careful when we're approving these that we don't hold someone to necessarily one volume here and the exact same volume here. The underlying performance standard is that we're removing pollutants to equal the amount that would have been removed had we been able to do everything on site. So when we get to this box, now we're talking about either contributing to a runoff mitigation fund, so until further notice, assume that doesn't exist. The other option we have is to allow the project proponent to do a mitigation project. And so the criteria for this is that it needs to be within the same, I think the same HUC 12 drainage area if feasible. And there's some discretion about what sort of a project that could be. It could potentially be a Green Street retrofit project that they pay, they pay for the city to do. It could be a retrofit of another development owned by a different developer. There's a lot of probably things to deal with here. There's of course the ongoing maintenance responsibilities and who's going to take those on and who's going to pay for all that. There's the permission to do this project on an adjacent parcel of land. There is the pollutant load calculations that need to be demonstrated to demonstrate that this combination of on-site plus treatment controls plus contributing to a mitigation project is going to result in the same level of pollutant reduction that we would have achieved on site. But all that said, it might be worth it, and we might see folks coming forth with this type of an approach. And so I just wanted to spend a quick moment talking about what the underlying performance standard is and what we need to ask folks to prove up. Until the county spearheads essentially a development of an alternative compliance plan, in a more formal sense with your participation. Everything is going to be essentially on a case-by-case, site-by-site basis, where if someone wants to use this, they're going to need to prove up why this is acceptable and why this meets the performance standard. So, I'll leave it at that. Any questions about anything you've heard today? Yes.
Just real quick on the alternative compliance option, is that also in the regional permit?
Yeah. It is. It's a little bit different in the regional permit in the sense that it needs to be part of a watershed management area analysis. They call them a WAMA in the San Diego regional permit. And so the regional permit actually requires the permittees to, or no, the WAMA is an optional plan that can be developed. The San Diego regional permit requires the permittees to develop WQIPs, which are water quality improvement plans, essentially watershed plans. And a WAMA can be something that is developed as part of a WQIP that would identify sub-regional, regional projects that can qualify. And so given timing and all this, I mean, I think practically speaking, we probably will see this sort of program evolve out of complying with the next term permit. Which I think actually gives us some more flexibility. We get into a little bit of a double jeopardy game here, where it feels like we're doing a lot, maybe some redundancy. And I can't remember all the details of the WAMA, but I believe it's a little bit more performance standard based, and do whatever you want, do it outside of the receiving waters. But as long as you're doing this outside of the receiving waters and you're achieving this goal, then you're good. Not dissimilar to this, and written by the same board, so you hope it's not too dissimilar. Different permit writers, though, I will say that. All right, well, I guess I want to close by just saying thank you for the comments, participation. It's great to talk about this stuff and hear what other folks are doing and how they're encountering the challenges and facing them. This is just the first step. We have the help desk. I wanted to make sure you know that you can email Richard with any questions you have, and he'll forward them along to the appropriate folks. And that's available to you. Again, the documents that you're actually going to need to start implementing this will be available for you, and hopefully by the end of this month. If we need to tie up some loose ends, it may be sometime early next month, but those documents are going to be ready in time for this program to roll out. And free. It's 4 o'clock. The school bell just rang.